Good morning. It's great to see all of you today on site, online, anything in between. I'm Jo Celine, OUUC Media Specialist. I use ze/zero pronouns. This service is being recorded. It is streaming live on Zoom and on YouTube. For those of you in the sanctuary or on site today, we ask that you refrain from singing today, but please feel free to hum along. We also ask that you keep your mask covering your nose and mouth at all times. These measures are for everyone's safety. Thank you. Also, please turn the sound off on any devices, or just turn those devices off altogether. And note that you can see the subtitles and view the chat during sharing from the heart on the screen at the front of the room. You will also view our remote minister today on the screen at the front of the room. For those of you online, I hope you will find a candle or a chalice, and in a moment we can light them together. Thank you all for your grace and adaptability. As we all remember, it's about connection, not perfection.
Our morning song this morning will be hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit. I invite you to follow along with the lyrics and hum like crazy, huh? And if you're online, the lyrics can be found posted in the chat. Hymn 347, Gather the Spirit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What? Good morning. Great. It's great to be here this morning and to be with all of you. And welcome to the worship service of the Unitarian Universalist congregation. We welcome each of you to this celebration of love and to this congregation. The OUUC community comes together in mutual promises and possibilities of our covenant. We envision an interconnected world that is loving and just and healthy. We commit to live out our mission and to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. And we're so glad that you've joined us together this morning. My name is Rick Brandt Kreutz. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a member of the worship I'm a member of the Partner Church Ministry. Leading worship with me today is Reverend Elod Sabo, who joins us online from his home in Urmos, Brașov County, Transylvania, Romania, where he's the minister of the Unitarian Church there. Urmos is about 39 miles from our partner church in Chișolimos. We remember fondly the time spent with Reverend Elod when he was our Balash scholar from Star King Seminary. He last preached in our pulpit just before the pandemic lockdown on February 10th, 2020. Welcome, Reverend Elod. We're very pleased that you'll be joining us here again in Olympia. Also leading worship with us is our minister, Reverend Mary Geer, and Troy Fisher, our music director. If you're new to OUUC, welcome. We'd love to hear from you. You can fill out a visitor card at the link in the chat, or please talk to a greeter. And today we're grateful for the many hands that have helped make worship happen this morning. Thank you to the ushers and the greeters, the breakout room hosts, the tech team members, the youth staffing the nursery, awaiting the return of your loved ones, and all who contribute in many ways. After the service, everyone will have a chance to discuss reflection questions. For those online, we invite you to go into the breakout room for a virtual reflection circle. This is a chance to gather with a small group to say hello and to check in. For those in person, please feel free to bring the reflection questions into your discussions. The questions are printed in the order of service. After today's service at 11:30, the annual congregational meeting to adopt a budget and elect a board and leadership development committee members will happen. You can stay on Zoom or return to the worship online link. For those who are here in person, we'll gather in the sanctuary at 11:30. And then we're very excited to be joining together this afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. to celebrate the ordination of Sarah Lewis today here at OUUC. The festivities will be outside as much as possible, and we'll honor Sarah with some gifts at about 3, and there will be cake, which you have to come in person for. Well, anyway, okay. But yes, we will have cake. And those who are online, join us as much as you can and as much as you feel comfortable. Melanie Ransom's talk show returns after church next Sunday, and a pre-recorded interview with George Lanning's children, Steve, Karen, Chris, and Susan, will honor George's memory and legacy as they share stories of their father. Lastly, everyone is invited to attend the OUUC 70th anniversary celebration and the installation of Reverend Mary on Saturday, June 4th at 2 p.m. at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. You can RSVP in the link in the chat on the website or check in with Darlene in the office. There are many opportunities to stay connected in our community. Please check the website regularly. And if you have any questions or need help, please check in with one of our staff members. So now let us open our minds and our hearts as we prepare for worship. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be together. This morning and every morning, every Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalists from around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. For those online, please join us as we light our chalices together. And we'll light our chalice with these words. We gather from around the world, Unitarians, Universalists, people of faith, both broad and deep. We come with many hopes and share many dreams. Through our common faith, we embrace all peoples everywhere, extending love with the hope that no one is left behind, that no one is forgotten. So please join this gathering as we come around this chalice, that together we may live today what the future of peace looks like in our dreams together.
Good morning. Our opening words this morning are offered by my friend Nancy Reed McKee. Our community knows no boundaries. We are not confined by the physical limits of these walls, or for that matter, of what often binds us, restricts us, holds us back. We are freer than we know when we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community. We are here together in space. I see you. I hear you. I love you. And we light a chalice, a beacon of this community that is holding us all together. Here, now. Come, let us worship together.
Our opening song is hymn number 322, Thanks Be for These. If you're online, you can find the lyrics posted in the chat. I invite you to rise as you're willing and able, in body and or spirit, and let's do our opening hymn. Thanks be for these life's holy times, moments of grief, days of delight, triumph and failure intertwine, shaping our vision of the right. Thanks be for these, for birth and death, life in between with meaningful. Holy becomes the quickened breath. We celebrate life's interval. Thanks be for these ennobling art. Images welcome to our sight. Music caressing ear and heart, inviting us to loftier height. Thanks be to these who question why, who noble motives do obey, those who know how to live and die, comrades who share this holy way. Thanks be to these we celebrate, sing and rejoice, our trust declare.
Good morning. My name is Reese Dovey. I am a member of the Partner Church Committee. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to give you a brief history of the UU Partner Church. And greetings to Reverend Elud. It's good to have you here again. UU Partnership goes back to 1921, following the devastation to the churches during the Great War. Although Eastern European countries had not seen nearly as much destruction as had occurred on the Western Front, they were still scarred by the horrors of combat. Excuse me. The goals of promoting peace, unity, and heritage were a major motivation for Hungarian Unitarian minister Gabriel Siki, a founder of the Partnership Program. Sadly, the global economic depression at the end of that decade ended these partnerships. Briefly resurrected after the Second World War, they were again interrupted by the official repression of Nicolae Ceausescu and the shadow of Cold War politics. Church activity was a target of repression, although it was not officially prohibited due to pressure from international institutions. After the fall of the Ceausescu regime in 1989, the idea was again resurrected with the advent of the UU Partner Church Council. The mission of the UUPC was to foster and support partner church relationships between UU congregations and individuals in the United States and Canada with Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist congregations, orphanages, schools, and students in other countries. Since the dissolution of the UUPC last year, a new effort is being planned for a more inclusive joint effort with international partners to promote partnerships. These partnerships benefit both partners through improving cultural understanding and supporting communities by helping to develop individual, religious, educational, and economic opportunities. Our involvement started in 1995 when our congregation partnered with the Transylvanian village of Kishoimos. Many have enjoyed the opportunity of being home hosted by this small farming community, including the choir, a youth group, and several adult groups. Those who have made the journey to the village have wonderful memories of their time with the kind and giving people of Kishoimos. Our congregation here in Olympia has also come to know many of the Unitarian ministers of Transylvania when we host the Balach Scholar for a weekend every year, ex-COVID. These ministers are taking a year-long sabbatical to study at the Star King School of Theology in Berkeley, California, and money for their scholarship is funded in part by our donation to the school when they come to preach for us. Over the years, our congregation has provided financial assistance for a number of building projects in Kishoimos. Their 300-year-old church was badly neglected during the Ceausescu years. Some examples where they have benefited from the partnership include a 5-year project to restore their beautiful church and also the parish house. This involved a new roof, new exterior, removal of water and mold damage to the church walls, a new drainage system, restoring the beautiful organ, and most happily for everyone, the purchase and installation of a much-needed heating system. It does get cold there. Before this, they had not been able to use the church in winter. This was all done under the direction of the current settled minister, Levente Lorenzi. Some of us may remember that Reverend Levente and his wife, Urshi, were able to visit us in February of 2019. We've also provided funding to purchase a vehicle used as an ambulance and a motorized wheelchair for a needy recipient. Finally, we continue to provide annual scholarships to allow village students to attend high school. Mandatory education only extends to 8th grade. There is no high school in the village. Rather, students must attend what is effectively a boarding school in another town, Sekekerestur. Most villagers are unable to afford the tuition and board as demanded. Our help allows students who otherwise would be unable to forward their education to at least graduate high school. We have had at least one beneficiary complete their seminary training to become a Unitarian Reverend. How do we benefit from this partnership? We have the opportunity for a unique and incredible interconnectedness, as well as our experiencing the birthplace of Unitarianism. The ministry and our visits to Kishoemos have helped shape our vision and our identity with our Unitarian brothers and sisters, and links us in relationship to our fellow Unitarians in Transylvania. As their home-hosted guests during the many trips to Kishoemos, we have learned what it is to live out hospitality as a way of life, and witness their commitment to a faith that, since the 1600s, has endured much hardship. Our ability to reach across what divides us and remain in partnership despite differences improves and deepens our faith commitment to mutual growth. Our faith and commitment to mutual growth. In keeping with the sixth principle of the Unitarian Universalist Association, we are promoting the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Julie Rosemond, here to explain what I have to do with this. I understand I'm the only member of the partner church group that hasn't traveled to Romania to visit the congregation there. So I'm here to explain myself and to encourage other people that don't feel they can afford it or are scared to fly or whatever to go ahead and get into this. Several years ago, our congregation members who had made the journey held an event here to raise money to support the partner church. In addition to sharing stories and photos, they had all this great stuff for sale that they had purchased there that the congregants had made, great textiles and embroidery and things. So I bought a whole bunch of it and enjoy it, use it all the time at my house. And then there were the baked goods, and they had me there. The recipes from Transylvania that were just to die for. I'm still making those things too. But that got my attention, but it's the history that really matters. I did a little looking into it a little more deeply just lately and discovered that besides that the amazing Francis David, the founder of what we have to rely on here, he became a Lutheran. He was a Catholic priest. He tried Lutheranism, he tried Calvinism, and eventually things got very tricky. I'll just read a little bit of this because I can't seem to articulate it myself. He'd studied the writings of an Italian and the Spaniard Servetus. These guys both challenged the idea of the Trinity of God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So this idea was crushed by the Counter-Reformation. In fact, Calvin even burned Servetus to death, and I went to Camp Calvinwood when I was in high school. Anyway, Transylvania managed to have a sphere of tolerance, one place in Europe where you could kind of safely think what you thought. And David gave his first sermon about Unitarianism there in St. Michael's Church in Kolozsvár. And the prince converted to the Unitarian faith, convened the Diet of Torda, things were good. And then he died, and his successor passed an act against the Unitarian Reformation. It was really aimed at Francis David. He threw him into prison where he died. So it's been not easy to be a small denomination in all these centuries following, and there are two Hungarian Unitarian church organizations now. The Transylvanian Unitarian Church has 126 churches with 65,000 members. The Hungarian Unitarian Church has 11 churches with a few thousand members centered in Budapest. Our people are Transylvanian Hungarians because, after a war, the winners just draw lines and say, okay, Kurds, you don't have a country anymore, and you Hungarians, you're going to be in Romania now. And so I I joined the partner church because I loved the idea of a connection to the people there, but also because it focused my thinking on where our faith, if you can call it faith, it's our way of thinking about the worth and meaning of life and the importance of justice. Just remembering how that came about and the terrible cost and the bravery that went into it. And then when Levante and Archie visited us here in Olympia 3 years ago, I got to have them stay at my house. And it was so great listening to them talk, thinking, I can't even hear the sounds for sure. It's like just water flowing. It was magic. And if I had any thoughts about Eastern Europe being kind of backward and old-fashioned, well, forget that. Archie's far more fashion-forward than I've ever imagined being, and she's a social worker, and these guys are way out in front of an old person like me. I was endlessly impressed. So I think visits between our congregations are important to keep the partnership alive. If our travelers hadn't got there, I wouldn't have had the richness of this experience to draw me in. But I'm in now, and so I want to do what I can to keep the connection up and still stay out of the sky more than I'm about to do. I worry about the carbon footprint of flying, and I've got 2 trips coming up in the next month. That should be a lifetime for me at this point. So I urge you, enjoy this partnership, and if you can go there, do it. But it's been a big thing in my life since I found it, and I am so grateful to Father David for incredible bravery and thinking.
Meg piheni, meg nugoni, hosat jutung istening. Met a harkbyn uya berut chak tenalad leiting. Bynjus feung por bahaitva megre megvi meg nu god va tekin link rat istenung.
Thank you so much to the Partner Church Ministry. We came together in community this morning, bringing everything that is in our lives. In this space, we draw on the strength of our community to hold everything that we bring here with us. In this space, we share from our hearts what brings us joy and sorrow, what brings us worry and delight, what makes us afraid, and what makes us dance. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life, our own and others. If you have something you'd like to have shared on Sunday morning, you can put it in the green book in the lobby if you're here before the service, or you can send it in through the website, or just send me an email and we'll bring it into the service next week. You will hear a drumbeat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat, and together we create the heartbeat of our community. As we share, we place stones in the water, stones holding the complexity of our lives, placed in the water of community. So right now, I invite us to just take a breath together, in and out. And let's open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives today. We offer our congratulations to Colleen Morissette on the wedding of her daughter, Kristen. OUUC hosted the wedding yesterday, and I was honored to officiate at this wonderful, joyous celebration. We wish Kristen and her new husband, Keith, many happy years together. If you are online, I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat. This is a time to share everything that you wish, joys and sorrows and everything else in between, something shared from your heart. And for those in person today, I invite you to come forward if there's something you'd like to bring into this community. Please come forward through the center aisle and return to your seats by the side aisles. You may place a stone in the water as you hold in your heart your sharing. Let's hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care to all those who share today. We'll place a stone in the water for all that has been shared and is being shared from the heart. And one more stone placed in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. I invite you now into a time of reflection, prayer, and meditation. This is a prayer for these times by Kenneth Langer. Let me find peace within so that I may be calm throughout. Let me find silence within so that I may find compassion throughout. Let me be reminded that some things are worth waiting for. Let me be reminded that the journey is more important than reaching the destination. Let me see that the non-doing is as much a part of life as the doing. Let me be reminded that it is in these moments of holding on that I can find quietude and renewal. It is within these times of inaction that I can find rest. It is in these times of emptiness that I can become full. Let's hold a moment of silence together.
Let's remain seated and sing together hymn number 352, Find a Stillness. The lyrics are posted in the chat. Find a stillness, oh the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find a silence, oh the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true
Excuse me for a moment. In a moment, we'll hear from our partner church minister in Chișolimos, Romania, Reverend Levente Lorenzi. Our partner church team has maintained contact throughout the pandemic with Reverend Levente and the Chișolimos congregation. And when it's safe and feasible, we hope to organize a pilgrimage to Romania. And now, Reverend Levente.
Hi, dear friends. I said before I have a little surprise for you in this time, but I have two surprises. The first, she, the English teacher in our school in Kissolymos. Her name is Emőke Szőcs, and she will help me today to
Interpret.
Yes. And the second surprise, that we are in the tower in Kissolymos Unitarian Church. You can see the bells, and from the tower we have a beautiful visibility. We can see this beautiful village. You can see there is the school, and this is the parish house. Let's begin. Szóval szeretettel üdvözöllek és köszöntelek ma.
I'm happy to welcome you today,
És szeretném elsőként megköszönni azt a támogatást, amit az évek során nekünk nyújtottatok.
and first of all I would like to thank you all your kind support year after year.
Elsőként gondolok arra az ösztöndíj programra, amiért nagyon hálásak vagyunk mi is, a diákok is és a szülők is.
And first I mean here at the scholarship program, which for we are so thankful, we students, parents as well.
És természetesen gondolok az iskolának vásárolt okos tévére is, aminek nagy hasznát veszik a gyerekek és a tanárok is.
As well as I mean about the TV, the smart TV we bought for the school, which is useful for for the kids and for the teachers as well.
Boti és a családja nevében szeretném megköszönni azt a támogatást, amit az új kerekesszék megvásárlásához nyújtottatok.
In the name of Boti and his parents, we would like to thank you for the new wheelchair he could buy with your support.
És mindemellett szeretném megköszönni az épületeink javítására szánt támogatást, ami egy óriási segítség számunkra.
And as well, we would like to thank you the help for repairing our buildings, which was a huge support for us.
Mindezért, amit itt felsoroltam, szeretnék egy nagy köszönetet mondani a teljes gyülekezetnek, minden támogatónknak.
For everything we mentioned here, we would like to say thank you, and we are so grateful for your support.
Szeretném megköszönni név szerint is Joanne és Mike Young barátainknak,
I would like to highlight Joanne and Mike Young,
akik az elmúlt évtizedekben segítettek, hogy ez a testvérkapcsolat sok mindent túléljen, és alkalomról alkalomra szép legyen.
who helped us year after year, thousands of years almost, to have this beautiful relationship.
És szeretném megköszönni Ricknek is azt, hogy ilyen kitartó.
And I would like to thank you, Rick, that you are so persistent.
Akkor is, hogyha néha későn válaszolok,
Even if I write you back later,
akkor is szeretettel és türelemmel kivárod ezeket
you
a
are
válaszokat.
still patient and you are waiting with love my answers.
És talán leginkább azért vagyok hálás, mert beszéled az én félig magyar, félig angol dialektusomat, és megértjük egymást.
And perhaps I'm the most thankful for you because you understand my half English and my half Hungarian dialect.
De természetesen mindezek mellett üdvözlöm mindazokat, akik már jártak nálunk, akiket ismerek, akikkel az ott létünk alatt személyesen is tudtunk találkozni.
But I say hello and welcome for all I know. All you were here and I met you there in the USA.
Nehéz éveken vagyunk túl,
We are over hard years.
a koronavírus a világ minden részén nehéz időket hozott számunkra,
The coronavirus brought us hard years all over the world.
ezt még nekünk tetézi itt a szomszédban zajló háború is.
And if it wasn't enough, we have the war here near.
Reméljük azt, hogy ennek mihamarabb vége lesz, és az emberek újra békességben tudnak élni.
We hope that all this will end soon and we will be able to live in peace again.
Addig is megteszünk minden tőlünk telhetőt, több alkalommal küldtünk segélyt is a menekültek számára.
all this time we are doing whatever we could, and we sent aid to the refugees several times.
Örömmel olvasom a Rick üzenetében, hogy talán ismét megvalósulhat a találkozásunk.
I'm happy to read Rick's message that it's possible for us to see each other again.
Ennek nagyon-nagyon örülök.
I'm so happy for this.
Mindig szeretettel várjuk a hozzánk érkező csapatokat, és egy életre szóló emlék minden látogatás nekünk is, és a faluban élőknek is.
We always wait you and the visitors to come to see us and have great time together.
Most így a videón keresztül is biztatok mindenkit, hogy jöjjenek Erdélybe, Kissolymosba, látogassanak el hozzánk.
I encourage all of you to come to see us here in Kisolymos and in Transylvania.
Számunkra is egy nagy élmény volt, hogy ott lehettünk önöknél, és köszönjük a lehetőséget, hogy ezt biztosították számunkra.
It was a great joy for us to be there with you, and we thank you because we could get there.
Reméljük, hogy erre még lesz majd lehetőség.
We hope we can go next time.
De addig is várjuk a találkozást, várjuk önöket, hogy eljöjjenek hozzánk.
We are waiting you, and we would like so much to have you here.
Addig is a gyülekezeti életünk folytatódik.
Our reader is working on.
Pályázatokat írunk javításokra, gyülekezeti programokra.
We are doing projects for repairing and for meetings.
És igyekszünk elérni a kitűzött céljainkat.
And we are very
Igen, nagyon jó. Igyekszünk.
we are trying
Yes.
so hard to achieve our goals.
Nagyon köszönjük, hogy ebben segítetek nekünk.
We are so thankful that you help us with this.
Isten áldjon mindenkit,
God bless you all,
és remélem, hogy mielőbb találkozunk.
and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Emőke.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, Reverend Levente. Today's offering, here we go. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me reset here. Today's offering will go to support the scholarships and projects benefiting the Unitarian Church in Kisholimos. Last year, we provided scholarships to 6 students, and we hope to sponsor several students this year. And each year, the partner church team decides on the projects that we'll fund in conversation with Reverend Levente and the congregation there. Last year, in addition to scholarships, we provided funds to help purchase a new wheelchair for a disabled member of the congregation. Many years ago, we had helped the same member purchase a wheelchair that over time surpassed its usefulness. And now we hear, as Reverend Levente mentioned, Mr. Botti is rolling around fine once again. Finally, if something you hear today sparks your interest or desire to serve, please talk to me or talk to any of the partner church members or Reverend Mary after the service, or put a note in the chat, and we'll be happy to talk to you about the ministry. Please note that you can participate in the offering by making a donation online or through the church website, or by texting the number that will appear on your screen in just a moment. You can also mail a check to OUUC or place your offering in one of the baskets. May the offering be generously given as it is gratefully received.
All heat, all seretet, all beke, all dosh, all eastern, all sukshe. shame. Where there is faith, there is love. Where there is love, there is peace. Where there is peace, there is blessing. Where there is blessing, there is God. Where there is God, there is no need.
Dear sisters and brothers, Unitarian Universalists and good people of the Olympia Church community, I am delighted to be with you and worship with you on this Sunday. And I consider it being a wonder that although thousands of miles, many language and historical barriers separate us, we can still see, hear, understand, and love each other. The fact that against every odds, despite so many differences between us, we are still together and we still make an effort to hear each other means for me that we belong to each other. Not only the name of our religious community, not only being called Unitarians, not only some centuries-old historical events and processes hold us together, but there is a living, permanent spiritual connection between us. I am not sure how you would call this connection, but for me, this means that God, the living and loving force of the universe, wants us to stay connected, wants us to make all the effort that is necessary for us to discover and rediscover each other, each other's past and present, each other's values. Being together with you is a miracle, as it was being together physically more than 2 years ago in February 2020. Those days that I have spent in your city and in your community are valuable and living memories since then. From the moment I have landed and I have met Joanne and Mike Young at the airport, every moment, every encounter, and every shared thought and emotion was important and made an impact on my life and on my work as a Unitarian minister in Transylvania. I remember the Youngs' hospitality, the warm atmosphere at the dinner of the partner church committee, the first visit to your church building in which so many things, objects, words, witnessed the vast and faithful activities of your community for justice and equality, the sightseeing in your city together with Rick and Reese, also the large variety of beers that we tasted, the dinner and the dialogue with the ministers. I also remember 2 inspiring and powerful worship services, which were not powerful and inspiring because of my presence, but because of the presence of hope, of responsibility, of the healthy balance between seriosity and joy, which radiated in those moments of worship. I will never forget these times. Only a few hours if I count it on the clock, but so valuable if I measure it by the happenings, thoughts, and feelings experienced while being together with you. Many things happened since then. A few days later, the dark and threatening reality of the pandemic took over so many spaces and things in our personal and community life. Although we hoped it will only influence our life for a short period of time, its effects were devastating globally for months and years, and it is still too early to say that it is over. And before this challenging and dramatic period ended, a new challenge, a new tragic reality of our world makes it difficult for us to keep the good balance in our prayers and thoughts and keep the flame and enthusiasm of joy alive in our and each other's hearts. The war that destroys homes and lives is once again offering the false impression that force, violence, brutality, and fear can bring good things, can bring freedom, and can solve problems in our lives, both personally and globally. As the sounds and flames of war are visible and audible, Just a thin and vulnerable border separates our country from the country in which the tragedy is happening. There is lots of insecurity, unrest, fear, anxiety between our people. It is even more important to bring the good news of religion from the pulpit in churches and in everyday life. Reading, seeing, and hearing the news about the tragic events and details of the war is spiritually difficult and challenging. I meet and speak with many who say that they are tired of these news, and some even say that they don't want to hear about it anymore. They want to forget about the horrors of the war, and they want to concentrate on the beauties and joys of life. To forget, to remember. I have been thinking a lot about these two ideas in the past weeks. Both are very important for a human being, and both of these have to be used at the right time in the right way. In both cases, I have chosen a short text from one of the most important sources of our faith, our Transylvanian Unitarian faith, the Bible. Do not remember the sins of my youth and my rebellious ways, says the poet of the Psalms in a beautiful prayer. I imagine memory as a glass in which we always pour every information that we meet in our everyday life. The glass is filling, and in the end, when it is completely full and we still pour the information in it, there is no other way some of the information will exit the glass. Then we say, we forgot. This process of emptying the glass can be uncontrolled, spontaneous, if we don't pay attention to it. We are going to remember less important things, and we are going to forget more important information. Although sometimes forgetting gets us in trouble, on other occasions, forgetting is a blessing of our life. The praying poet of the Psalms asks the Lord to forget the sins and rebellious ways of his youth. The prayer doesn't say forgive, but forget. I don't know if you have a similar wise saying, but here in Transylvania, I heard it said several times. I will forgive, but I will never forget. I was always upset by this so-called wisdom. That means, in my opinion, that I won't mention your sin or mistake for a while, but someday when I will need it as a weapon, I am going to take it and I will use it against you. That is not forgiveness. To forgive is the same as to forget. You give away your anger, your pain, and you are not only giving it in loan, you give it away permanently, and you are not going to be able to use it against others. If we are able to forget what needs to be forgotten, we are able to renew relationships, to restart life of communities, to start a new, clean chapter of our common journey. We ask the Lord in our prayers to forget our sins, to give up the Lord's anger and disappointment. We should also always try to act like a king, like a rich person who can forget, who can give up on his friend's debt. As it is important to know how to forget, it is also vital to be aware of how do we choose the things we want to remember. There are things that we guard very consciously. Memory of beloved people who passed away, crucial moments of our lives, the first love, the first kiss, the wedding day, special moments that changed our thinking, our mentality. And the most important thing I would like to speak about today is collective memories. This is where I am going to get to the topic of the war. The thing that strikes me even more than the tragic news is the way many people here in Transylvania react and speak about this topic. I am completely confused when I hear about the Russian government and army being mentioned as champions of liberty, of order, of democracy. And when many people here in our congregation, our community, say that Russia is right to attack and invade the Ukraine. This is a perfect example of collective forgetfulness. It is only 30 years since we in Transylvania got rid of a communist and dictatorial system. The narrative of Communist Party was that the Russian brothers freed us from the negative influence of the Western capitalist world. There were periods of time in the 80s when milk, bread, and meat were given by tickets that controlled the amount being bought. People stayed hours or days in line to buy elementary food and even gas for their cars, if there was any gas at all at the stations. If someone dared to criticize the system, soon a black car showed up and the rebel journalist, teacher, minister, or any other rebel was taken to prison or labor camp, and it was difficult to come back alive from these hells of the system. Only 70 years ago, the revolution of the Hungarians was destroyed with tanks and Russian army forces. And guess what? The Russians said that they were in fact freeing Hungary from anti-revolutionary fascist forces. Cries for help were voiced day after day from the Hungarian government toward the sympathetic Western countries, including the USA. But these countries were not able and not willing to intervene in this war. How can the terrors of dictatorship be forgotten by a whole community in only a few decades? How could these memories flow out of the glass of our collective memory? And what is our role as church, our role as spiritual leaders in these times and in these special circumstances? Our role is definitely not to strengthen these false ideas. It is striking how thousands of years ago, the same issues came up when Joshua, the leader of the Jewish people, crossed the Jordan River and stepped on the promised land. Joshua told that every tribe should pick a stone from the river and raise it on the banks of the river, and he told them, in the future, when your descendants ask their parents, what do these stones mean? Tell them, Israel crossed the Jordan on dry ground. And I think this is our role today, to strengthen the memory, to show the stones of our past and tell the stories of our passion, our pain, our suffering, because these memories will prevent us from wrong verdicts and from the repeated tragedies of the past. We have to remember blessings of the past, among which one of the wonderful moments, one of the wonderful blessings is the partnership of Unitarians in Transylvania and Hungary and the Unitarian Universalists in the United States of America. This is what we definitely consider a blessing from God. But we also have to remember and make our people remember our mistakes, our past, to be able to build a world without those sins and mistakes, to build the beloved community, to build the kingdom of God. May we be blessed with the talent of forgetting and forgiving, but may we also be blessed with the talent of remembering in order to see things as they are and to use the knowledge of the past in the effort to build a sacred and peaceful future. Amen.
I invite you to rise in body and or spirit, and let's sing together our closing hymn, hymn number 1039, out of the Till hymn book. The lyrics are posted in the chat.
Be thou with us now and always, now and always.
Thank you so much, Reverend Elad, for gracing us with your presence in our pulpit virtually and for your important message today. As we come to a close today, please remember that online groups will gather next. The congregational meeting will start at 11:30. And don't forget to stop by OUUC this afternoon between 2 and 4. It's a beautiful day to be outside, gather, hang out, and yes, there will be cake. If you have a chalice or a candle, please join us as we extinguish our chalice in the sanctuary with these words from Laura Thompson. Across the distance, the light from within me shines, sending love to all. Across the distance, your light is fuel that warms me and helps to keep my own light burning. Together, we keep the flame of community burning bright. May we carry this much needed light into our world, and may we move in peace.
Let's join together in singing our unison benediction.